This is Bob McFarland. This video is my second video on duplicate bridge bidding, and I am going to attempt to cover some of the very basics of duplicate bridge bidding. The first thing we have to do is try to figure out what we're going to call everybody so we won't get confused. When we sit down at the bridge table and look at the board, all we know is who the dealer is. There's north and south, and there's east and west. One of those four is the dealer. The dealer is the person that gets the opportunity to open the bidding. So if he elects to open the bidding, he or she, then he would be called the opener. And let's just say he's in the north position. Well, his partner is in the south position, and he or she would be called the responder. Now, looking to the east, after north, let's say, opens, if east should elect to make a bid himself or herself, I'm sorry about all these pronouns, I could be getting them wrong, that person would be considered an overcaller. So we know what an opener is, we know what a responder is, we know what an overcaller is, and if the overcaller's partner should bid, that person would be called the advancer. First opponent to bid after the opener is the overcaller. The overcaller's partner would be the advancer. Now, let's talk about bidding conventions. And all bids are natural. If you open with a spade, it means you think you can make one spade, which is book plus one, 7 spades. Uh, Sometimes we have conventional bids. A conventional bid is not a natural bid, but there is a reason for the conventional bid. I try to keep my conventional bids to new students as simple as possible. I start with the two most common conventions. I can remember back in the 50s and 60s when I played rubber bridge before I took a 40-something year sabbatical. I remember the Stamen convention. And there is Sam Stamen. All conventions are named after, most conventions are named after him to death. And so Sam Stamen came up with this convention for a very good reason. And like I say, it's been around a long, long time. And the purpose of the Stamen convention is to search to find a 4-card major. You know, it'd be nice if during the bidding we could just say, hey, partner, let me ask you, do you have blah, blah, blah? Well, no, can't talk off the table. But you can do it with cards, the bidding cards that we put down, the bids. We can ask questions and answer questions with bids. And so a question that Sam Stamen came up with after a partner opens with one no trump is to say, you probably don't have a 5-card major, but is there a chance you might have a 4-card major? Because I might have a 4-card major, and therefore we'd have 8. And 8 is very good to have, and we can bid that suit if we have 8. It's called, bridge is called being golden. And another convention that's pretty old, but not quite as old as Stamen, was uh, named after Oswald Jacoby. And it's called Jacoby transfer bids. This one's more complicated, unfortunately, and it has to do with the fact that one of the partners wants to bid a certain suit and he wants the other partner to do it. So, you know, if we could talk across the table, you'd say to your partner, hey, I want you to bid hearts next time around. Well, of course, the rules of bridge won't allow us to do that. But we can actually do the same thing by putting down a 2-diamond bid after a one no trump opener. 2-diamond says, this is the suit below the suit that I want you to bid. And so his partner is going to comply with the request and bid that suit. They're called Jacoby transfer bids. Those are two conventions. And those two conventions are important at bridge, and virtually every bridge player in the world uses those two conventions. Bid the suit below the major suit you want your partner to bid. Some people have a hard time understanding that, but it's important that you understand this convention. Now, the Stamen Convention and the Transfer Convention are collectively sometimes called system zone. And in that convention card that I have provided for you, on the back side, you'll see a place like this on the top. It says no Trump overcalls. And you see where systems are on. Systems means Stamen and Jacoby is on. They collectively call system zone. Now, this is a gentleman you might have heard of before. His name is Charles Gorin. Back in the 50s and 60s, when I was a very young boy, Charles Gorin was what was known as Mr. Bridge. He wrote the book, the Bridge Bible, and it's called Gorin on Bridge. And so that was the last word on bridge. If anybody ever had a question, Charles Gorin knew all the answers. And he had a show on TV back in the 50s and 60s called Championship Bridge. It's still on YouTube today. I watch it sometimes. Very interesting. See, it's rubber bridge, not duplicate bridge. Some of the best bridge players of the day are in this video. Charles Gorin gave us the high card point system. Very simple. Give yourself 4 points for every ace, 3 points for every king, 2 points for every queen, 1 point for every jack. If you add all that up, it's 10 points. Every suit has 10 points. And since there's 4 suits, there's a maximum of 40 points in the deck. And so looking at the number of points you have, you can figure out what your high points are and high card points. And once you know your high card points, then you know where you can bid, whether you can open, whether you can respond, whether you can overcall. And total points are not only the high card points, but other points that you get once we decide where we're going to be heading. Like, for instance, if we know that hearts are going to be the trump, then if we have some short suit points and other suits, they might be worth something, and also there's long suit points. I'll get into more of that later. But anyway, high card points and long suit points equal total points. Now that we've talked about all that, totally confused, let's talk about how many points to open. While there's some exceptions to the things I'm going to be saying, here are the general rules. In order to open the bid, you need to have 12 points. Now you see this hand, spades has 7, hearts has 5, clubs has 6. That's 18, I believe. So that has more than ample enough points to open. So this hand will open. And the best suit it's got, obviously spades, it would open 1 spade. How many points to overcall? Generally, it's about the same as the opening hand. Some 12 points or so, but to overcall, you got to make sure you get a decent suit. Whereas to open the hand, if you have 12 points, you have to open. Now, let's talk about responding. That would be, of course, the partner of the opener. Now, assuming let's just say North opens, okay? And East elects not to overcall, so East passes. Then South is the partner of North, and that person has to make a decision about whether to respond or not. And you as a new player will be sitting there saying, gee, I wonder what I'm supposed to do. And here's the answer. If you have 6 points, you will respond. You've probably heard of algorithms. Algorithms are things that drive a computer. And let your algorithm say to you, if you have 6 points, you will respond. Now, the only problem you got is, what do you respond? So that's another big question. But remember, if you have 5 points, you're going to pass. If you have 6 points, you're going to bid. It's like a light switch. It's either on or off. If you got 5, it's off. If you got 6, it's on. Okay, let's talk about points for a game in majors. If you and your partner together have about 25 points, generally speaking, you can make a game in the majors. Game in the majors, of course, is 4. Majors, of course, are hearts and spades. And in no trump, it's about the same thing. It is around 25 points. And as you saw in the scoring video I had before this, you, you only need to bid and make 3 above book, or 9 trick total, to get game and no trump. And the minors are clubs and diamonds. And generally speaking, especially for new players, we try not to get into a game in a minor suit because you really need about 28 points, and that's not too far from slam. And it's better if you try to concentrate on the major suits and no trump, and then as a last resort, the minors. Here's a jingle. There's a jingle that I have. It says, clubs are for the golf course, diamonds are for your finger, and try to stay away from them. Okay, uh, points for small slam. A small slam is six tricks over and above the book of six tricks, which is 12 tricks, only one short of every trick in the deck. And you get a big bonus for making a small slam. But generally speaking, for the points, we need to be looking at about 33. That's getting to be almost all the points in the deck. And this is plus or minus, and sometimes it's more and sometimes it's less, but that's just a general rule for right now. And for a Grand Slam, it's right around 37. Okay, the first goal of bidding is get to game if game can be reached. And if you look at my new player cheat sheet on page 1, paragraph 3, you'll see that's our first goal. And we should be looking at getting to game in hearts and spades. If not, we want to get to game in no trump. And our last uh, goal is in clubs or diamonds. So your first goal in bidding is to get into a major suit and make game. This is a bidding box, and the way you bid is you take your thumb and put it on the bid. Like for instance, if you want to open with one spade, you take your thumb, put it on the spades, and you take all those cards, spades and the ones underneath it, and lay them on the table, not ever saying a word, and that's how you would bid. And four hearts and four spades would be game in a major suit. Second goal of bidding, if game can be reached, is a no trump game. And if you look all the way on the left side, you'll see the no trump bids. Uh, one no trump and three no trump is the game bid. The last goal of bidding, as I've told you before, is clubs and diamonds. And there's the jingle. Notice I got it in quotes. Diamonds are for your fingers, clubs are for the golf course. Okay, what are the guidelines for minimum opening unbalanced hands? Definition of balance and unbalanced. A unbalanced hand has like a 5-card suit in it. A balanced hand doesn't have a 5-card suit. That's the simplest way to describe it right now, although there's plenty of other variations to that. And in addition to having this opener and responder and overcaller and all that, we got to think about first, second, third, and fourth seat. The requirements to open in first and second seat are one requirement, and when you get to third and fourth seat, requirements are a little bit different. So nothing's easy in bridge. Must open a hand with 12 high card points. Toggle switch again, the light switch. If you have 11, you don't open. If you have 12, you will open. The top limit of any one opening hand would be 21. If it gets to be 22, there's something else we'll do, and we'll talk about that more later on. So the point count range when you open one heart or one spade is very wide. I mean, if you, my partner, open one heart or one spade, you could have 12, you could have 15, you could have 18, you could have 21. I don't know. All I know is you've got at least a 5-card suit in the majors, and I don't know what your point count is, but it's somewhere in that very, very wide range, and obviously we want to narrow that down. Now, if you get into third seat, in other words, your partner has passed, your right-hand opponent has passed, and it's now your turn to bid. The requirements have dropped down a little bit by about a king. Remember, a king's about 3 points, 2 points. So it's about, around 10 points. You could open with about 10 points in third seat. And then you can open with about 10 points in fourth seat, but there's another rule called the rule of 15. I won't get into that right now, but Anyway, there's different. Just remember, there's different guidelines for third and fourth seed, and whereas first and second seed is pretty firm on 12 points. Now, let me give you some examples of some unbalanced hands. One of a suit. Here's the question. What if you have two 5-card suits? What do you do? Well, uh, first of all, before I get to that, let's talk about if you got a 5-card suit and a 4-card suit. Well, you already know you never open 4-card suit. But if you had let's say a 5-card suit and a 6-card suit, well, you'd always open a 6-card suit, no matter what the strength is. It's length first. It's quantity, not quality. Look at that hand. There's 5 terrible spades and 4 very good hearts. Gonna open a spade every time. What if the two suits are the same length? Look at your hearts and spades now. They're both 5-card suits. You say, wow, pretty simple. I'll just take the one that's the best suit. Well, you know, how do you know which one the best suit? Well, you don't have to worry about it because there's rules. If you have even two 5-card suits, you bid them from the top down. So you'd want to bid the spades, which leaves room for you to bid the hearts later on. If you don't understand that now, I'll explain it to you later. Same rule for a 4-card suit. Bid it top down. You got 4 clubs and 4 diamonds. Which one do you bid? You bid the diamonds. Look, now your clubs are better than your diamonds, but that doesn't matter. You bid the length first, and you bid top down. Notice there'll be a different rule for responders. That's what's difficult about bridge. Different rules for different positions. The lower ranking minor, if both are 3 cards, you bid up the line. So if you have 3 clubs and 3 diamonds, you bid the clubs. Don't bid the diamonds. And there's reasons for all that, but I won't go into all that right now. I'm just trying to give you the very basics to start right now. Now, balanced hands don't have a 5-card suit. They lend themselves to no trump openings. So what is a balanced hand? It's defined as there's no voids or singletons, and at most one doubleton. Very balanced. Unlike a suit bid, which has 12 to 21 points, the no trump length and the strength of your hand is more narrowly defined. Here's the first rule you have to learn about no trump. You open with no trump. First of all, we know you got more than 12 points. In fact, the rule is you have to have 15 to 17. If you have less than 15, you don't open one no trump. If you have more than 17, you don't open one no trump. If you have 15, 16, or 17 and you're balanced, you do open one no trump. Okay, this particular hand has 7 and 5 is 12 and 3 is 15. And so it opens one no trump. Now, it could have opened one club, it could have opened one diamond. It can't open one heart of spade. So you got to have 5-card suits. But it's more descriptive if it bids the no trump because it's now got a range of just 3. Now, once you get a balanced hand up in the higher categories, like 20 to 21, we don't want to open with one no trump. We want to open with 2 no trump. And this is a very good hand. It has 6 and 6 is 12, and 5 is 17, and 4 is 21. 21 high card points, very balanced. The rule is 20 to 21. So between 12 and 21, we've defined 2 ranges. The range of 15 to 17 and the range of 20 to 21. What's missing is 12 to 14 and 18 to 19. And I'll get into that in a minute. Other balanced hands. Look at this hand here. You know you don't open heart. You know you're going to open because you got the points to open. The question is, what do you open? And the answer, obviously, is you open a club. All right. So your partner bids a heart, which is about what they're going to do every time, a heart or a spade, and you can't support them because his heart bid only at the one level only means that he has guaranteed 4, and 4 and 3 is 7, and you want to have 8 before you start supporting your partner. So you want to bid one no trump. And besides that, one no trump after an opening bid defines that little bracket of 12 to 14. So now we have described 12 to 14, we've described 15 to 17 for a balanced hand, we've described 20 to 21. What we haven't described is 18 to 19. And here is an example hand where you open one club. It's got too many points to open one no trump. It's balanced. Can't open two no trump, so you open one club. When your partner responds one heart, then you bid two no trump, which says you have that gap between one no trump and two no trump, which is 18 to 19. So now we have a chart for all ranges of balanced hands. If you have a balanced hand with 12 to 14, you open with some suit, usually a minor, and then you bid one no trump. And if you have 15 to 17, balanced hand, you open one no trump. And if you have 18 to 19, you open one something, usually a club or diamond. And then when your partner bids, you jump to two no trump, saying you have 18 to 19. And if you have 20 to 21, you open with two no trump. And now we're going to get in what happens if you're in the rare occasion when you have 22 plus. That's very rare, but it does happen. Now, before I do that, let me talk about preemptive bids. A preemptive bid is a bid that does not comply with the rule of opening with 12 points. It has less than 12 points. So you say, well, why would you want to do that? And the reason you'd want to do that is you want to stop the opponents from their bidding. Here's a general rule. If you give good opponents all the bidding space they want to let them talk, not talking across the table, but talking with their cards, they will come to the right bid. So a way to mess them up is to put in a preemptive bid. And in order to have a preemptive bid, you have to have pretty unusual hands. But you got to understand the purpose of a preemptive bid is defensive and not offensive. Now, sure you wonder why I would stick a picture like this in here and ask who this guy is. And you've never heard of him, I'm sure. But his name is Jeff Mextroff, and he is, without a doubt, the very best bridge player in the world. He has over 100,000 master points. I have been playing very hard for the last 12 years, and I have a whopping 1,550 master points. He has 100,000. He dropped out of college to play bridge. His dad was very upset. Anyway, the reason I tell you all that is when he visits and he gives talks, and people pay a lot of money to listen to what he says, like E.F. Hutton. Uh, and some people will ask the question, well, what do you think about preemptive bids? And should you make a preemptive bid if you're pretty close but not quite there? And ask questions like that. And his answer almost is always the same. He uses just three words: preempt, preempt, preempt. And what that means is if you're anywhere close, throw in that preempt bid because it screws up the opponent something awful. When you preempt, let's say you open with two spades, what have you done? You've taken away the whole first level and virtually the whole second level of the bidding for the opponents. So they got to start off at the three level and try to talk to each other and figure out where they need to go. So it's a defensive bid, preempt. So we've got regular bids, we've got preempts, and then we have very strong bids. Now, back in the Charles Goring day, 50s and 60s, if I had a real good hand, 22 points, and five card suit, I'd open with two hearts. And that's what Charles Goring told me to do. And if I had a real good hand, five spades, I'd open with, two spades. So the two level was a very strong bid back then. But since that time, bridge experts have decided that the weaker bids, the preemptive bids, are more advantageous than the rare occasion when you have this, as we call it, a barn burner of a hand. So they've taken all the strong bids and they moved them to one strong bid. And that strong bid is two clubs. And it's conventional. What it means is I have a real good hand, but you don't know what my suit is yet, and my partner doesn't know what my suit is yet. So you open two clubs, and you would in the old days you'd open two diamonds, or two hearts, or two spades, or two clubs. You don't know which one, but nowadays you just open two clubs, and all that means is that your partner has to bid. That rule about having 6 points, that just went out the window because your partner's got 22. And so it's a way to preserve the preemptive bid. And that's the reason it's important to tell you about preemptive bids before I tell you about this strong two-level bid. And two-level openings require 6 cards. Now here's the weak openings. See this diamond opening? All he's got is just 6 points in diamonds and an outside jack. Terrible hand. But if he bids two diamonds, it might screw the opponents up. And two spades will definitely screw the opponents up, and two hearts might very well screw them up. So there's been many a bid that has been missed because the smart opponents open up a preempt. Now, a three-level bid, generally speaking, a two-level bid means you have at least 6 cards. A three-level bid means you have 7 cards. And occasionally there's some exceptions to that. And I'll maybe cover those later on. And then a 4-level bid would mean 8 cards. All right, well, let's talk about the 22 plus now. Foreign days, all bids were strong. I talked about that. Now we can get the same result with a strong two-club bid. So it's conventional. It shows at least 22 points. And so what your partner is required to do, unless you play something different, is just bid two diamonds. And all that is waiting. It doesn't mean the first thing. I open with 2 clubs. My partner bids two diamonds. Now I come back and bid two hearts. It's just like in the old days if I'd opened with two hearts. And I know you say, well, why do all that? Well, the reason was to save those preemptive bids. Example of two-club openings. Look at this one. Here is both of these hands are very strong. Uh, the first hand doesn't have a long suit, so obviously uh, it can open two. It's got 22 points, so it opens one club. His partner bids excuse me, 2 clubs. His partner bids two diamonds. Comes back and bids two no trump. You know he's 22 plus. The second hand, it's strong in hearts, so he opens 2 clubs. See, the problem is, if he opens one heart, there's a good chance his partner doesn't have 6 points. And so he would pass, and there they'd be with this huge monster of a hand, and, you know, not going to be able to big game. But so really, with these big hands, all the partner needs is just 2 or 3 points, and we're going to be close. So anyway, that's the reason for this 2-club bid. Now let's look over at the responder side. And believe me, you're going to be sitting there with your partner opening and thinking to yourself, what am I supposed to do? Try to remember some of these rules. Opener is a describer, and he has described his hand. Now, if he opens one heart, that's not much of a description. All we know is he's got 5 hearts and 12 to 21 points. But he is considered the describer. And then a better describer, of course, is the 15 to 17 one no trump. So if he's the describer, then his partner is the decider. And in bridge lingo, we call them that partner the captain. He's the one that makes the decision. You see that Eastern Hairline hat there? That's what I used to wear. The one that's sitting in the left seat makes all the decisions. The one in the right seat follows the orders. So you got a describer and a decider. And the describer's bid, like his opener, and his partner now be the decider. And so he is in a better position to judge whether they can make just a partial score, or possibly a game, or possibly even a slam. Now, if your partner opens one of a suit, remember the light switch. If you have 6 points, you will bid. Only question is, what do you bid? Well, it depends on what your partner opens with. Must bid. Now, the first responsibility of the responder is to try to get to a major suit. So if my partner opens a club or a diamond, if I have four hearts or four spades, it is pretty much automatic. I'm going to bid one of those. A rule set in stone is all new suits bid by an unpassed responder or foursome. If my partner opens a diamond and I say a heart, he cannot pass. I might have a huge hand. I might have 15 points and, 6 card heart suit. Well, I'm not going to jump up there and bid a big bid. I'm just going to bid one heart because I trust my partner. He has this rule just like I have. All new suits bid by an unpassed responder or foursome. Now, if I had passed to start with, and it goes pass, pass, and he opens the spade, it comes around to me, and I bid a no trump, he doesn't have to bid again because uh, I'm not a, I'm a pass hand. But that's a rule that's set in stone. All new suits by a responder or foursome. Now, how do you figure out what to bid if you're a responder? The 5 card suit's a bid top down. Partner opens, let's say a club or a diamond, and I've got 5 hearts and 5 spades. Well, which one do I bid? Now, you'd normally think you'd bid the heart because that's the stronger suit, but that's not right. You bid top down. There's a reason for it. And the reason is it saves more bidding space. But anyway, you bid the spade. You'd bid a spade. 4 card suits a bid up the line. So if you had the same situation, partner opens a diamond, and you got, well, clubs, hearts, and spades. You don't want to bid the clubs because your first job as a responder is to try to get to a major suit. So you'd want to tell him about the major suits. So in this particular case, with 4, you bid up the line. Now, how do you know which one to do? Well, you just got to memorize it. There's a different rule if the rule when the opener has 4 card suits. Responder bids up the line with 2 4 card suits. Raise of opener's bid. Well, must have 6 points to be golden. And uh, if your partner opens a heart and you had 6 points and 3 hearts, you could raise them because a heart has to be at least 5. And in this particular case, I've got 4. That means we got 9. Uh, but the question is whether you have enough points to do it. In this case, you certainly have the point. You have at least 6, so you would raise the hearts. Bidding a new suit at the 2 level. Here's the rule. In order to bid a new suit at the 2 level, it's got to be a 5 card suit and you got to have 10 points. Just got to memorize that. So, if your partner opened a club, let's say, and let me say your partner opened a heart. Well, you obviously can't raise hearts because you only got one. And you can bid a spade or you can bid 2 diamonds because you have enough points to bid 2 diamonds because you have at least a 10 point. You have at least 10 points and let a 5 card suit. Can opener pass the new suit bid responder? Answer is no. Remember that rule I told you before? All new suits by a responder or foursome. No, no, no. Rules set in stone. If I can't emphasize anything, it's this. All new suits bid by an unpassed responder or foursome. If you do not have 10 points, but you do have 6 and no 4 card major, what do you do? Well, let's see. The rule says you got to bid if you got 6. And you don't have a 5 card suit. You got to bid 2. So what do? Well, you can bid 1 no trump. Uh, that only means you have 6 to 9 points. Now let's talk about balanced hands. Responding to a 1 no trump opener. Your partner opens 1 no trump. What do? Well, in your mind, you want to divide your hand up into 3 categories. The first category is 0 to 7. It's all about numbers. If they got 15 minimum, and you got 7, 7 5 12, 22. never going to get the game, no matter what. So 0 to 7 is always a pass. However, there is a rule that says that if you happen to have a 5-card major, you know that your partner's got at least 2 in the major because they can't have a singleton to open with one no trump. So you can go ahead and make him bid the major. So the first category is 0 to 7, and you want to pass or possibly transfer and pass. The next category is 8 to 9. Think about the numbers. If you got 8 and he's got 17, that's 25. If you've got 9 and he's got 15, that's 24. So we don't know. So you're in what we call the invite area. So you want to invite him some way or another, him or her, and let them make the decision about what to do. But if you happen to have 10 or more, you know without a doubt that you're going to game because he has at least 15. 10 and 15 is 25. So you can bid something, but it's got to be forcing so that he can't pass short of game. Now, if less than 8 points, always sign off with a pass or the transfer bid. That's what I talked about. Look at this hand. Very weak, but you got pretty good spades. You know he's got at least 2, so we'd rather be in 2 spades than 1 no trump. So you would transfer him to spades by making a bid of 2 hearts. And you say, how can I bid 2 hearts for 3 little ones? It's conventional. You know that your partner's going to bid spades. You have to trust your partner. That's a very important rule in bridge. Trust your partner that he'll do the right thing. Do not use Stamen. Now, so he bids 1 no trump, you bid 2 hearts. Now, 8 to 9 points, we invite game. There's 2 ways to invite game. We can invite game with Stamen and then bid 2 no trump, or we can just go straight to 2 no trump. 2 no trump is inviting game. But if you have a 4-card major, you want to see if your partner, the opener, has a 4-card major, because you'd be better off in the major than you would be in no trump. Now, if you invite game, here's what the opener's going to do. Basic rules. If you have 15, he's going to pass every time. If he has 17, he's going to go every time. Go means go to game. And if he has 16, he's going to use his old noggin, we call it judgment, and decide what to do. The Stamen Convention is a hunt for the 4-card major. So if you had 8 to 9, you can do Stamen and then invite with a raise. And you can go straight to no trump if you don't have. See this hand here, he doesn't have 4 hearts or 4 spades. So there's no sense in using Stamen. He just goes straight to no trump. 1 no trump, pass, 2 no trump. 2 no trump says, partner, I have 8 to 9 points. I do not have a 4-card major. You make the decision. 8 to 9 with a 5-card major. Well, there's 2 questions here. Where are we going to end up? And how many are we going to end up in? So you don't know the answers to those, but you can tell your partner what you got. So he opens 1 no trump, you bid 2 diamonds, which is a transfer to hearts, one below it. So he bids the 2 hearts, and then you bid 2 no trump. And that says, partner, I have 5 hearts, and I have 8 to 9 points. And then he will make the decision. Bid hearts, pass, or go to game. Okay, a review. Transfer bids are to bid the suit below the major. Suit you want partner to bid. Difficult concept for some new players, but it's a very, very important thing in bridge. Opens with a no trump. You're sitting there with those spades. You got 7 points. All you want to do is bid them and then tell them that you got a little more than the minimum. And so you rebid them. Here's the rule. A major suit, only bid 1 time if you have 5. You can bid 2 times if you have 6. So after the transfer, partner must complete the transfer. No question about that. Has to. There's some later on that very advanced players will you can learn when you're an advanced player, but for right now, just complete the transfer. Second rule of bridge is trust your partner. First rule of bridge is have fun. Second rule of bridge is trust your partner. Believe that he or she is going to do what he's supposed to do. Okay, now two clubs has totally different respondings. You can forget the light switch and 6 points and all that. Uh, first thing is, if you have absolutely nothing in your hand and your partner opens two clubs, the last thing you want to do is to pass. In fact, you never ever do that because he might not have any clubs. He might have one or two clubs, and there you'll be in really deep water. Never pass. You must bid. Now with 0 to 7 points, you just bid the diamond, waiting. Okay, and 9 times out of 10, that's what you're gonna be doing. Now, if you happen to have 8 points, it's kind of unusual if you have 8 points because your partner's got 22, but it can happen. Then you make a positive response, like this is a spade response. That's positive. And this is a diamond response. That's positive. 8 plus points. And there's just 8 high card points. Who no trump? Responding to preempt bids. Generally speaking, preemptor is the describer. When here's a rule. When you preempt, mentally fold your arms and say, that's it, partner. Don't say any words. But your body language says, but you can't fold your arms. But what you're thinking in your mind is, I am done. I have just described my hand. I have preempt. So the partner is going to make a decision about what to do, not you. The responder normally has three choices. Now, the great amount of time, they're going to pass because if if the opener has a weak hand, a preempt, then most likely you're not going to be able to get the game. But they will apply the rule of 17. I don't know if I'm going to go into that or not, but there's a way to determine if you have game if your partner preempts, and that's the rule of 17. And another thing that they do, now most of the time, I'd say 75 to 80% of the time is number one, pass. Occasionally, you'll increase the preempt. Like for instance, he opened two diamonds, and you got three diamonds. That means 6 and 3 is 9. Golden is 8. So you got one extra trump trick that you didn't, that most times you wouldn't have. So you can increase the preempt. Now, that's not an invite to get the game. That is saying, I'm scared that this guy on my left-hand side is going to bid and they're going to get the bid. So I want to increase the preempt so that they might not get the bid. And you can possibly go to game if you satisfy the rule of 17. I'm not going to tell you what the rule of 17 is right now. It's a little bit too confusing. Very rarely you'll use it. Most of the time, just pass or increase the preempt. All right, now let's consider the opener's rebids. You've opened the bid, your partner's responded, now you got to figure out what to do. Let's talk about what people know. What does the responder know when you, North, open one club? Well, he knows you got um, at least three clubs. He knows you got at least 12 points. That's about it. Could be 21. So don't know a lot. But when a responder bids a heart, one thing we know is he's got four hearts and he's got at least 6 points. So now it's time for you to make a rebid. And the first thing you have to remember is remember what's in stone. All new bids by responder are forcing. You cannot pass that one heart bid. He could have 15 points and a big heart suit. So the opener wants to define your hand basically in three categories. The minimum category is 12 to 14. The medium category is 16 to 18, and the big category is 19 to 21. And I won't tell you about how I'll do all that. I'll just tell you that obviously there's a lot more to it than what I said here in this very brief introduction to the basics of bidding.